hotel, the Peachtree Hotel. And as near as I know,
Which tree, Pearl?
the green tree.
Out here.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was that right in that tree, the original tree there from years back, but the house burned in 1942. And the Landrum people, I don't know as to when they started the hotel, but they were the ones that ran the hotel. And of course, a lot of people lived in that building as years came along. The Landrums themselves was in here when my folks were first married. I can remember my mom telling me that, and they were married in '07. So I knew the Landrum family, but not when they were here. That was after they moved away. And the old warehouse over there, I remember my mother saying that she used to go to dances over there, so it was a little bit better condition than it is now, I guess. I tried to skate over there, but I couldn't do that. And as far as the other buildings is concerned, I cannot remember, but the old blacksmith shop was in this area right here somewhere. And we find the nails.
The road used to go through here.
Oh, yeah, the little square nails. Well, I don't know that we do right now, but we have. And Danny, can you think of some more things to tell them?
Hey, let's see, Dan, you were saying that the road did actually come in through here at one time, right through this path.
Right, and before my time they took a shortcut across there. But it would have come down through here, through a gate here, and out through on the other side of the warehouse over there, after passing right by about where the power pole is over there. Right, it would be right in front of the hotel, right.
You moved off the county road.
Right. Well, see, this is a section line right here. And so our property's on this side and Singleton's on that side now. It used to all belong to me.
That's the me family.
Yeah, we don't even learn the new names. It's still a me ranch as far as we're
Right.
Me too.
Still a Peachtree Ranch as far as I'm concerned.
Was the Peachtree Hotel on me ranch property?
Right.
Yes.
And did they not call this the Peachtree Mercantile area?
Well, Peachtree Mercantile that I know of was located in Bakersfield.
I've heard that they had a branch store when they had the hotel and stuff in here, but
Not after Me's owned it.
oh no.
Oh, no.
Oh.
No, this was probably in
Oh, okay. I don't know. Yeah.
1895 to 1910.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
My grandmother's and grandfather's twins were buried there.
What was the name? Davis?
No,
No.
Tully.
Huh?
She was a Davis, but and she married Edward Albert Tully. And they lost their first two youngsters, Edward and Orpha.
Because
they're buried
somewhere
over
I
there.
remember that there was a name of the Davises in there.
Oh.
There's
And then they
about
lost
6.
their Tully girl.
There.
Because the Davises lived right up here where on the
I don't know. I suppose these people thought they're out. I don't know.
You can see from the road, you can see
It's
the
on our
mark
property,
on the
the
wire
wire.
going that way.
one mark.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder if you could give us that description, Dan, for where the cemetery was.
Okay. Well, let's talk more about here first.
Okay.
We kind of got sidetracked.
Right, a little bit, that's all right. Ha.
Did you, Danny, do you know that lady that said her grandparents put some twins up there? They gotta investigate that a little
Down to Gene
more.
Russell, yeah,
Oh, okay.
from the Tully family.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Okay.
Dan's got a few more words here.
Okay. Right now in the old house that burned that was a hotel at one time. Wilma Tompkins Hill's folks lived there when she was a little girl, I guess.
Is that right?
I thought it was in a sheep shack.
Wilma wasn't here. This was just before Wilma was born.
Just before.
Just before you were born, Wilma. That's
Because you lived up there at the the Glatton
Peach
place
Tree.
at the time.
Oh, you lived at the Glatton
Yeah,
place, huh?
yeah.
Huh.
What was it called?
Um,
Maybe for
Griffin,
Griffin probably at the time.
Merritt.
This Merrill, isn't it Merrill? It's the Merrill. It's still the sign Merrill Ranch is still there, you know. Yeah, from the packing company. That's right.
I remember them saying something about being in a shoe shack. You know, the trailer thing in between barns there before they moved up there. I don't know if they were in the house or not.
Yes, they lived in the house. Yeah, they lived in the house. And we had lots of different people that lived in that house as time went on.
Well, when I was
But when I was a teenager, we used to have our parties over there because it was a vacant house, and Murray Bray and a bunch of us that's in this valley, well, we had our parties there. We didn't have drinking parties. Don't remember ever having a drinking party. But anyway, we played games and whatnot, and that was available, and we did that.
Now, when I was a little kid, there was another house located just on the other side there,
Where the other trees are.
and it was just a little old house.
Way over there, Dan? Or?
No, right here.
Where the three trees
Where the three
are,
trees.
right in that area.
coming out.
Okay.
And there was a little house there that workers lived in that worked for me.
For George me.
I didn't mean to do that.
Was the hotel, the old hotel, a big building?
Yes, a pretty good size. I think it was, they had lots of bedrooms. They had even an upstairs.
Oh, they did, huh?
And I don't remember, how many rooms are upstairs and things, but I would say maybe 3 or 4.
Have you seen, or do you know of pictures of it, Pearl?
Yes, I would have some pictures of it as we've taken it from across the bar, probably. And right offhanded, I couldn't tell you just where they are, but.
Well, when you get a chance to find them, let us know. We'll copy it for you.
Right.
And I forgot now who the people were that they were working for the Me Ranch at the time. Maybe it wasn't the Me Ranch then. What was it before the Me Ranch?
Well, Miller and Lux owned it at one time.
Well, yeah.
But there was Cornwall's owned it.
Oh, they owned it?
Cornwall's.
I think Cornwall's must have sold to me.
To me,
I guess
right,
it
in
was
about
me.
1930.
Anyway, the people.
Is that right?
There was a company also, Fort Klamath Meadow Company. I don't know if they owned or leased the Peach Tree Ranch at one time.
Fort Klamath Meadow Company,
Well,
huh?
that could have been something to do with Miller and Lux too, because they had stuff up there, I don't know.
I remember having a little
Because now when me had it,
lunch bucket.
sometimes there would be me ranches, sometimes it was California Land Cattle
Probably
Company,
got lard
and
in,
it would
but I
swap
use it for
back and
lunch
forth
bucket.
among
I see.
several.
Alma Jean? Alma? Got something for you. Because you wrote some about the Cornwall brothers too, and
Yes,
I-
rented the Tully Ranch.
they did. They were quite something, I know. And they apparently were Pearl, maybe you remember, they were there when the old house burned that was at, there was a house before the current George Me house, and it burnt. And I think there was some story about one of them being there, and the house was already pretty well on fire, so he just sat down and had himself a drink of whiskey because there was no point in trying to fight the fire. That's what I understand, and it just burned to the ground. I think Roy told me that. Roy Bray told me that story. And
Oh,
since
you
he-
mean at the headquarters?
Yes, at the headquarters, yes. Yeah.
I don't remember when that burned. Later, I guess.
What year did the hotel here?
In 42.
42. Okay.
I remember that one.
Now we had a house here that burned before my time. Would have been located right in the corner of our yard here.
Where the trees
group
are.
of trees are.
Is either the existing houses very old? Do you know?
Well, the new house was built 1948.
Uh-huh.
The other house, okay, that might be interesting.
Yeah.
The other house, okay,
Alma?
originally, it was out here someplace, I understand, and Hames took the building and rebuilt it or something where the new house is here in the corner.
I see.
And in 1948 then, my grandmother took what's left of it there, and because there was like a lean-to built onto it for the kitchen and everything,
Oh, yes.
and they tore that off. And moved that part around there for a guest house and built the new house
I see.
here. So
So this is the same
I was
location.
just gonna say.
And the ground settles and the house cracks.
What year did Virgie die?
74.
74?
Who's Virgie?
Her
My
mom.
Oh, your mom,
She
right.
was one of the sweetest customers I ever had.
Oh, is that right?
Everybody thought she was a good cook too. Very great talent.
I bet she was.
and that's where I got my information.
Many years ago, we had 2 eucalyptus trees right in this area where we have all of these other things now. The old walnut trees are the originals. They've been here always, I guess. But and right here in the corner of the yard. And then we used to have picnic tables, and we had everybody. I can remember the Reynolds' band here to eat picnics with us and all. But we finally took down the what in 46 was it?
What took those down?
When we took down the
I
trees.
think 46 or 47.
And then it was after that, then we built the house.
Now, Dan, do you remember the blacksmith shop being out here, or
No.
it was already
Oh,
gone?
that
You're
was
just,
way before my
yeah.
time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember finding square nails.
All of those buildings were gone before my folks, I think, even owned this, as far as the buildings is concerned.
Okay, all right. Dan, I was going to ask if you would mention about where the school was exactly. We did pass it, but we didn't describe it too well. So.
Okay, between here, Roy's about halfway. There's a lot
It's on the right, or?
on
Yeah,
right.
on the right.
On the right, going back. On the east side of the road, about 2.5 acres. That was the old Peachtree School lot.
There's trees is all that's there now.
Oh, Lanthus trees, aren't they?
Right.
Yep.
And there's sort of a fence area, fence post around so you can tell where the lot is.
Did you ever go there?
No.
But that's where I got my education.
My grandmother and my mother both went there.
My cousin Bessie Richmond taught there.
Yeah, she was my 3rd grade teacher.
My husband
Oh, she was? And your husband went there too?
Children go to
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, all the risks came up there to go to school.
While he was going there is when they closed it though, and he went then to Bitterwater.
Oh, he did? Oh, I see. That's how they merged it.
right.
Roy, Eileen Bray Davis, was the last one to graduate from the Peachtree School, and that would have been in probably 28, I think it was.
Oh,
Where'd they move the school
To the Jamesburg country. They tore down our old, and used the building, used the stuff. We weren't too happy about that, because we used to use that as a gathering place for many times. And
sure.
elections and whatnot. And it was still a good old building. And, but the school needed it, and it belonged to the school, so they had the right to tear it down and move it away. And I have never really been by, well, one time they were told me that that was the old school, of course it was built up in a different manner, so I wouldn't have known it.
But that's out at Jamesburg, huh?
Yeah, in the
By,
Jamesburg country.
Over by, yeah, toward Carmel Valley.
The land is ours now, but we had to buy it.
Does anybody have a picture of this Peachtree School?
Well, I have, but I didn't know where to look for it.
I told you to find that for us.
Go ahead, I crocheted and stuff.
I have an old picture. Isn't it in the old few of the students in the
Oh, you do?
I know it's in there.
I
know it's there, but I
You went to school there a little bit. That's what you were saying, right, Alberta?
for a few years he went to school there, and then they closed that one, and he started going to Bitterwater.
Bitterwater, right.
And Agnes Tully would meet him at the Tully Hall and take him to
Right.
the school in her car.
In her Jewett. I would have too, an old Jewett.
Great.
But now, okay, now I don't understand quite how these school districts worked, because my grandmother talks about one of her classmates lived where Alberta lives now, over in Lewis Creek.
Jefferson? Was it the Jeffords?
Well, he stayed with Jeffords. His name was Buck Cheney.
And he came over here.
He was a hard man for us.
Oh, he was?
He used to break horses.
Right, and he rode horseback, of course, to school, and went to the Peachtree School, and I don't understand why he went here instead of to Tully School, which would have just been down the canyon, instead over the hill. I don't know what the deal
Monterey
was.
County versus San Benito?
But if he lived with them, they're in San Benito County. They're on the San Benito side of the creek.
I don't know that.
So I've always wondered, since I was a little kid, my grandmother told me that, why did this kid come to Monterey County when we could go to San Benito County?
Ask Lila Melindy in there. She was superintendent of Hollister Schools when, Jeff, she was a superintendent when you were in grammar school, wasn't she?
I never knew that the superintendent, I got trouble with the teacher.
Oh,
We never got past the principal.
she was superintendent. And I've got a perfect attendance that you signed for me.
Great.
Okay, on the school, apparently the original deed says that it was bought for a $20 gold piece from the Tompkins family in 1889. The area inside the board fence. So that means apparently there was already something there when they bought it. So, you know, I don't know how long it would have been there before. So they operated the school up into the, when they closed the school, Mom?
I think must have been in 29. I want to think in 29, because I graduated in 27.
So,
And I think it was 2 years later.
so they ran the school about 40 years after that. And then when the school closed, then Peachtree School District joined San Lucas School District, because there was a school district between here and King City, Sweetwater School District.
Oh, yes.
And it was just a small one, so they decided they'd join a big one like San Lucas. Anyway, so that puts us in San Lucas School District.
Uh-huh.
And we ended up then,
She was a
so it sat as an empty lot then for 50 years, and we bought it from the San Lucas School District about 5 years ago.
Oh, real recent, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And for $8,000.
Huh.
They used it for 40 years, left it set for, so they did a pretty good investment.
I should say.
pretty good return, huh?
That's right. Did you go to school in San Lucas then after that?
No, we went to school in King City. We jumped the line.
I'll be darned.
High school bus.
Right. We went down to Roy Bray's where we met this morning on that same little corner and waited for the school bus and rode the high school bus to grammar school and to high school.
I see.
Who drove
And
bus?
a lot of people drove bus.
Was Wade
Wade
driving?
drove at one time. Our first bus driver was Gene Ingram,
Oh, yeah.
and he was a high school student at the time. And then Wade Oswald drove, and at one time Ray Hill back here drove.
Oh, is that right?
When you lived at the corner?
And
Chicken was going to mention something. Chicken?
Yes,
I live 15 miles up the valley from where we are now, and in 1926, when I should have started school here probably, or over in Hartfield, one or the other, they didn't have a school bus. And so the state superintendent of schools was visiting in the area, and he and the county superintendent of schools made a call at my parents' house, and they were familiar with the school here, so my dad wanted to solve this problem of educating his daughter, so they solved it by going back to Sacramento and writing my parents a letter excusing me from ever attending public schools in the state of California.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, while we're on the subject of schools, I might add a little something about on up in the Bitterwater area, across into San Benito County, up across the creek. The Bitterwater district was still in the Hollister High School district until the 60s. And we just had an inter-district agreement to where the students from the Bitterwater could go to the King City High School. But actually, they were obligated to furnish transportation even under the new regulations. And so we finally got the people on the ball, and we joined the King City High School district. The Bitterwater Tully district joined, the grammar school district joined the King City High School district. And it so happens we lucked out, we didn't realize it, but Hollister hadn't joined the Gavilan Junior College at that time yet, and King City had already joined the Hartnell, so they had their big bond issue and everything all already established, so we didn't have to assume that bond issue for the junior college in Salinas, and we didn't pay on the new Gavilan out of Hollister because it was already out of the district. So we really lucked out.
One other thing I think Dan was going to mention where the cemetery was, and that was not too big a cemetery, I guess, was it? But
so I don't know how big it would have been at one time. There's about less than half a dozen markers that are still identifiable. And about 15 years ago I went and wrote them all down so that I have them someplace if somebody ever wanted to ask me.
Great.
Because I figured that...
Where'd you put that paper?
In the mailbox. And anyway...
Dan, I would like to see it because some of my, well, ancestries were buried there.
Well, I'm sure there's many, many graves whose markers had already deteriorated past recognition, or you know, that are there that no one knows about.
Right.
And that's why I decided at the time I have to do it now, because every year they're deteriorating.
Do you remember any of the
more.
names of the ones that are still there?
There's one named Buck, that was on a wooden marker, so that may not still be there. And there's a canyon over here on Tompkins, it's called Charlie Buck Canyon. Whether it's any connection, I got no idea. That was all the name was on there, was just Buck. One Lynn, and that was a little girl, I think. And I don't remember the rest of them.
Was
Our
it a
own,
mattress?
I don't remember. I don't think so. I think
that would have been your family, I know.
Because there were names that I didn't recognize.
Chicken, you started to say about a Russian name in our...
But Davis, I think.
The chicken started to say about a Russian name in there, or
no.
Oh no,
there was a Russian name.
Oh, is that right? There was a Russian name.
There was some children there, a lot of children, I remember.
Well, like Almagene said, two of the Tully.
But I don't remember seeing anything that was marked Tully because I would have remembered that name.
Yeah.
You know, because it was names that. It was names that families aren't here now. I mean, I only probably remember that Buck name because of that canyon. But
They were married in 1874.
but our own family, the Riss, my grandmother said was moved into King City after the Oddfellows took over that cemetery and kind of upgraded it. And I don't know if there was a drive to, hey, you know, we'll make you a special good deal or what. But
and where is the cemetery?
okay, just before you get to that schoolhouse lot, about a quarter mile this way, right at the foot of the hill, across the barley field, you can see there's one marker that shows up better than any of the others, right at the edge of the barley, and it stands up about 18 inches high.
It's white. And there isn't a fence around it.
No.
I saw the spot. We saw the spot.
Had been a fence, and then everything got tangled up in the fence.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It was better to have it out of there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they've really been very careful not to follow that.
No, it's never been plowed. Those people are still there, and I think there's a place for them to stay there because they've stayed there long enough now.
That's right. That's right.
Now, back in the early days of the century,
Carl, have you ever written up any of this? You should.
What, Dan? In the
early days of the century, the Standard Oil Company came into this area and was very interested, and they bought the Landrum Ranch. They wanted to buy minerals. Landrum says, we want out. You got to buy the whole thing. So they bought the whole ranch, and they tried to trade the surface ranch to my grandfather. Could have had the surface there if they would have gave them the minerals here. And but he didn't do it. And at that time we owned about half what we own now. And then in 17 or something like that, my grandparents bought the other half from which was formerly Tompkins property. And they had sold their mineral rights already to Standard Oil. At one time, my understanding is like 13 or something, there was an oil well out here
Here someplace.
by those oak trees somewhere. And they hit this black gooey stuff that they couldn't do anything with. So they capped it off.
Have you ever written any of this up?
No.
Why haven't
Telling.
Good. Golly.
I want to. I think that'd be neat.
If you and your mom would, we'd appreciate it a lot. But,
You can add the recording group,
There's
the audio history group.
yes. Yeah. We do.
back
Pearl
in the area where the schoolhouse is, there was another oil well during that same era. And I don't know what it had. During our own era, they tried one up here about a mile down the road here in the mouth of the canyon. Again, Standard Oil ended up doing it. But it was on our property. But we didn't get anything from it except the cattle guard.
Well, that was something.
That's right.
What do they call this area through here? This valley?
Peachtree
Valley.
Peachtree. You're in the center of Peachtree. This is downtown Peachtree.
And these are the Gavilan Mountains?
And actually, we call it the Peachtree Valley, clear up to where Reynolds live.
That's right.
Right.
Boosters.
What do you call this range of
Right.
mountains?
It's just those
Hills.
That's the hills between here and King City, and this is the one between here and Lewis Creek.
Over the hills where the Copleys live?
Yeah, and Jack Copley and some of those used to come over to the Peachtree School, so I've heard of.
Oh, is that right?
And John's
Come through
Was that Wild Horse
horseback.
Canyon over
Yeah,
there?
Wild Horse Canyon.
and John Steinbeck's east of Eden.
Through
There's
there.
a passage in there where the Hamiltons all came to a dance at the Peachtree School. One of them drove a hay rake and whatnot. And anyway, that's
On the post office record for Peachtree
Oh,
Post
yes.
Office,
Thank you, Howard.
Andrew Jackson Copley Sr. had the post office for maybe a year or two in Peachtree. Do you have any idea where maybe he would have been living?
I don't know.
at that
There's a
location?
canyon up here called Copley Canyon.
That must have been it.
And that's where I understand that house that came over here was brought from that house. It was the coffee house. Where it came from, I never did figure that out. But anyway, it's been there. And it would have been there, I guess, when I was a youngster. I don't remember.
Howard, what else did you know about Howard's always good with the post offices.
Well, he's good on oil wells too, I know.
Did you have anything else on the post offices?
Yeah, well, I've got some displays I'll set up at lunchtime.
Okay, we'll have some displays on the post office at lunchtime, Howard
They
says.
were really wanting, I think they were just didn't want it to be a house for anybody to live in any longer, and they probably used the lumber or whatever to build the other house. But no, it didn't. I'd like to know how kitchens got her education.
Yeah. We had a teacher that came and lived with us for 2 years, and she taught me for 2 years. And in some things, in the 2 years, I went as far as the 6th grade. And when I got to King City to school, I just sat there for about 10 years. Let the world go by.
Olive.
It's too bad.
Yeah, olive. Too bad she wasn't here already. I would like to talk about this time.
No, I think you get one.
Do they know anything about the wild horses? Where the wild horses?
I don't know. That's a good question. Pearl, we have a question here. Do you know anything about the wild horses in the area, where they're like with Wild Horse Canyon or so on?
Well, I don't know. The wild horse is off this way. Whether there's any wild horses over there, I don't know.
Don't know. Okay. All right.
There must have been something that got that name.
Uh-huh.
But that would be the
But up here is Mustang, so I don't know if there's any connection.
Mustang is 198.
Alma Jean had quite a description from one of the first teachers, maybe one of the first teachers, Ms. Ritter, at the Peachtree School. And she came down to the country, and she first describes how she got on a horse that had eaten local weed. Do you remember this, Alma Jean? It's in your book.
Yes, wasn't that
Quite exciting.
More Than Gold in California?
That's it, from her book, More Than Gold in California.
That was wonderful.
And apparently, they gave her a horse that ate local weed. And so she got on the horse carefully. They were holding it for her. She thought it was going to be just fine. And it went way off cross country, just galloping across the country as fast as it could. It jumped over a ravine she claimed was 12 feet deep and 10 feet wide. It jumped all the way over the thing, landed safely on the other side. But the people who were following her to try to save her couldn't get across. So they had to catch up with her many miles later.
That was my uncle did that to her, my great uncle.
Oh, is that right?
She never forgave him.
I wonder, Howard, did you know if there was a post office in the hotel or right here? Or?
Well, Mark Landrum had the post office 2 different times.
Oh, he did.
It must have been in the hotel.
So it must have been in the hotel. That makes sense.
That school that she described was on a hillside. Do you remember?
Yes.
It wasn't this one. It was on a hillside.
The first spot. That's right.
Everything is our property, but not the Landrum property.
Oh, I said the Landrum was adjoining property.
See, we're in that, our yard fence is our line fence.
So you're way off on the side of your
right here
place.
is the corner of the section.
So that's.
Oh, that's the section corner. Okay.
Right there.
So it's.
Right. So actually, we're not precisely on our property now.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, but if they want me to cut down the weeds and stuff, I have to do that.
That part you have to do, right.
See, the section line comes diagonally down across this. You can see how it's coming across the field up there.
Oh.
And lines up with that line fence.
Oh, I see that field way up.
Sure.
A couple of names, I'm wondering if you have heard of them in later years. The post office closed, I think it was in '09. And John Logan was the last postmaster. Is that Logan family?
That doesn't mean anything to me. I know.
And then they nominated John Eblin. And he...
Eblin. Yeah, I knew them. I knew the Eblin family.
And where were
They lived where the hotel was, and they lived in that. Now, they lived there when I was a little youngster because my mom said that I used to think I wanted some of her pumpkin pie, and then when I got it, she, of course, had put in, what do you call it's in there, ginger, and I didn't like it. So I remember, but I knew the Eblin family, yes. And I knew them, you know, they grew up and all that.
So they used the hotel as a house?
Yeah, yeah. That was it.
And they did farming here?
Yeah.
Because some people
I don't
need to
know
make their
anything about
bladders
that.
grow.
Right, same here.
Which way do we go now?
We're gonna go back past Roy Grace and then
we'll kind of slow up by the school site, so, and then we'll just go on and stop at Tully. Okay. Okay, I guess we're going to be ready to get on to our next stop here, which will be at Tully Hall, the school. But we're going to slow up past the Peachtree School site so you can see where it was. It's pretty clear on the right side.
It'll be on your right side.
A little ways ahead of it. We'll try to slow a little ways ahead of where the cemetery was. Beautiful place.
You know, it's fascinating about these.
Wilma saw a rattlesnake today.
Ah!
She says it's 10 rattles.
She picked up the whole thing.
Thank you.